Startup Grind, for those of you that don't know, is based in Mountain View, California, and Silicon Valley, and they have about 40 or 50 chapters around the world now. And the premise is it's storytelling through entrepreneurship. We learn from some of the great entrepreneurs who have been there, done that, and we get to quiz them and pick their brains for all kinds of information.
All right, well, my first question, which I've been dying to know, is when did you become an entrepreneur? How did you know you were an entrepreneur? Did you start as a kid? Did you have an entrepreneurial family? Or how did the roots of entrepreneurship take place?
Okay, so it's almost like, since we are doing a storytelling thing, and I knew that I would have to do more of my story than I'm usually comfortable with, so I'm going to do it though anyway. So one, I'm actually not an extrovert as many people think I am. I'm actually an introvert. So anytime I speak in front of crowds, I literally am cringing. And so this is actually harder for me than running the bulls. So I just want everyone to know that. So if sometimes when I start to fall off, you'll know why. It's because I tripped on the ground and somebody's stepping on me inside my head. So entrepreneurship for me, and been said or I guess put in different ways, and I think that for me it came from desperation and anger. Okay? So we look at it, and I was asked by, or in a discussion with the president of a really large public company. And he said, well, you know, he's a president, he didn't start a company. He said, well, I'm not an entrepreneur. I don't like to take risks. And I said, well, actually, I don't like to take risks either. Now, I'm an opportunity seeker. See, my thing, and that's why I wore my little running of the bulls thing, it was actually really safe for me. I had mitigated the risk. I had done the research, I had done all that. I went out on the course twice and knew full well I was getting off the course because I had done all the research. I knew exactly where I was going to run, where I was going to exit. I knew exactly what I was doing. I was looking around at everybody around me, so metaphor that to death if you want. But I knew exactly what I was doing. And so I'm always about reducing the risk. Now, to your question, so I don't want to skirt it, is I was the typical mowing lawns, shoveling snow, singing Christmas carols for money. There was this time when I was about 13 or so that there was I grew up in New York, really, really poor. And there was a warehouse around the corner from our house. And I always saw them hustling, you know, they were always doing something. So I said, hey, you guys need any help? I didn't even know what they did. And what they actually did was they were a warehouse of like briefcases and purses. And they said, do you want to sell this? I was like 13. And I said, yeah. And he literally gave me a title. It was like a VP of sales, I'm not kidding. And I stood out on the corner in New York and hustled briefcases and purses. And they were awful, guys. They were so ugly. They're like a patchwork leather, you know. But I was hustling, you know. I was doing the best I could. I was making. That's where all the marketing comes from. Like when you can take something and then you have to literally, because that's what marketing is. I mean, I'm literally telling the story of this Italian leather, right? And I have just blown this story out to death about this. But and that's kind of where it really started for me. You know, it wasn't until much later. I mean, you're picking up the stuff as you're going too. You know, like I didn't know squat until I opened up my coffee house.
It reminds me of a tale about a guy who became a millionaire by selling potato peelers in New York because he was able to just sell potato peelers, and he still does, I think, to this day. But I mean, you could still be selling purses and briefcases.
You know what? It's like that introverty kind of thing. I wouldn't mind that at all. It's just one-on-one. One-on-one, I'm good to go, right?
Well, okay, you said you mitigated the risk of running with the bulls, plural. There's a story that if you're in the woods and a bear comes, you only have to be faster than the others.
That was part of it.
So how do you mitigate a horn that's coming at you? And somebody was injured in this last one, right?
A kid from Utah got a horn straight through him.
Yeah.
Out the other side, lost his spleen.
Oh.
Guy in Spain, a Spaniard got his eye, which was awful. A woman from Australia got her thorax crushed. We had 23 other injuries, broken bones, ankles, and whatnot. So first of all, like that's you know, it's part of just research. So I had researched the entire layout. I know that it's a half a mile long. I know that I can start from anywhere on the course, that I have to be there at 7:15. So if I have to be there by 7:15, what time am I there? 6 a.m. So metaphor your startup, I'm there early. I'm there before you. See? So I'm there, I have checked out this course so thoroughly, I know where every doorway is, where every exit is. I know if I make it to here, I can slide under here. If I make it to here, I can jump up on here. The crowd starts coming. I'm looking around. I'm going to say, who's going to be standing in front of me that I have to run around? If you watch the video that I put on Facebook or that we posted, you can see I don't turn around. I'm running straight ahead as fast as humanly possible. I don't want to turn around and get a bull, and I also don't want to run around and slam into somebody either. So when I first got there, I started asking, where is a good place to start? Because in my head, this is where a pivot is about to come. In my head, all the research that I had done said, you want to run towards the end of the course. Estafeta 1 and Estafeta 2 is what they call it. So it's just a road, it's called Estafeta. Because the bulls slow down there, and then they turn into the bull ring. And then you can run into the bull ring and put your arms up and you can videotape it. And so when I got there, I started asking about that, and they were all in agreement. They said, look, if you're Australian, if you're American, if you're British, you should start from Estafeta 1 or Estafeta 2. Because the bulls slow down and blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay, so what I'm going to do is, my first thought is, well, are the Spaniards faster? Are they braver? Why did they start in the beginning, but they want everybody else to start where they're telling them to? And it literally took me about 5 seconds when I got on the course the first time to realize it's because when the bulls slow down, they're more dangerous. All of those injuries that we talked about, they all happened in that section. I started in the beginning of the course where the bulls were the fastest. They could care less about me. They were going so fast past me, and I was running, and I looked, and I'm like, wow, that's really close. But I really knew they had no interest in me or any interest in stopping. By the time they get down there and they get tired, now they want to stop. Now they want to get, proactive with all the runners. So that was part of my plan. But that was a pivot, because I really was going to start where they told me to start.
Yeah, that's a great metaphor for entrepreneurship, because people are always telling you to seek advice and get mentorship. But if you get mentorship and advice from the wrong person, it could lead you down the wrong path.
Absolutely. I tell, listen, I don't know if I'm direct about it sometimes, because there's a couple people in here that definitely were part of mentoring. I'm looking at one right now from today. I should only be one source. If you're not talking to 2, 3, 4, 5 people, we all come from such different backgrounds, different, just completely different avenues that got us to where we are, that you should get advice from as many people as you can, and then sort that to what you believe is the right thing for your business. Not the right thing that I think is right for your business. I could be so far off base. My list of all the things I've not done right is way longer than the things I've done, right. My wrong list is huge. I have like my bad idea file cabinet, my good idea file cabinet. That was overflowing. My bad is just horrible. My good one's only got like 2 pieces of paper. The 2 worked out really good though.
Okay, we want to hear about some of those bad days and failure, because I think you learn a lot from your mistakes and from failures. So what sticks out in your mind when you look back on your entrepreneurial path that you learned, you did something and it turned out horribly and you learned?
Now this is interesting because so I could divide it up into like 2 sections. I could divide it up into one as an employee somewhere, which is originally how we all kind of start. That was a mistake. Because I'm unemployable. I say that all the time. I have no idea how Rackspace even, well, I think that's why I'm here. What do you do with him? Put him over there. So I absolutely think that you either know if you belong in a place or not, and I literally never belong in a place, but I never have, right? I was fired from just every single job ever, right? It's because I want to fix it. So I go in as a fixer. That's where I get the rainmaker stuff from. So I was like, I'm a fixer. I'm a fireman is now a new term that I like. I put fires out. I start fires, I put fires out, but I don't like to watch them burn. So I'm a fireman, I'm just a fixer. So I come into a job, and if you have an entrepreneurial fixing type of mentality, or I know this could be better, it's likely you're going to lose your job. Because they just want you to follow in and do the thing. So that's where my fails start. It's where I realized, wow, man, you just do not fit in. It doesn't matter what you do not fit in. So you're going to have to do something yourself, or you're just going to die. And that's when I opened up. I was a racing greyhound trainer too. I should reverse. I should do how I got here. Okay. So I was in the Air Force, satellite communications. I got out of the Air Force and I couldn't find a job. So for 8 months I lived on a buddy's couch until all of my friends were just tired. So they said, look, man, you got to get a job. So we know this guy who has a greyhound farm for racing greyhounds. And he needs someone to work on the farm. Now, literally, I know nothing about animals. I know nothing about racing dogs. I know nothing about anything. But I have no choice. So I go out, and they give me a little house to live in. And all I do, basically, for a year is pick up dog food. That's my job, right? And I learned a lot about humility, because I had this big top secret satellite communications job in the Air Force, and now I'm picking up dog food in the middle of the woods, right? There's no internet then, so what I decided to do was to kind of change my fate. There comes a point when I'm just tired of being or living the same way I've always lived, and there's like a switch. And so there were a lot of magazines for racing dogs, greyhounds, and in the back were those little classified ads, you know, for like manuals on how to learn to do this and learn to do this. So I ordered as much as I could, and I literally sat there and studied the anatomy of dogs, all about racing, and I became the youngest trainer in the state of Texas. I was 23 at the time. All the other trainers were well into their 60s, and I had my own kennel in Corpus and in Farmington. And I did that for a little while, but exhausting, 7 days a week, and met my wife and said, I was actually at a dentist's office, and on the table was either Entrepreneur or something, I never remember the magazine, and when I opened it, it said the #1 business for that year would be coffee. It was like coffee's going to be the same business. And Starbucks has not done anything yet. So, I mean, they have a few, but they're not anything. So I said, let's go to Corpus and open up a coffee house. We get a drive-thru. That'd be really cool, because no one has a drive-thru, and I'm like, brainstorm, whatever. So I opened up my coffee house in Corpus. And I ran for about a year, and then business started going straight downhill, because I don't know anything about that business, but it's fun. It's like a living room. It's like Geekdom in a way. Like, I know everybody, and it's really cool. And everybody's just hippies, and we got couches, and it's the same group. Oh my God, I've been hanging around with the same group of people for 20 years. And, oh man, I will never grow up. So I came up with an idea of adding free internet access inside of the Raven and Sparrow in Corpus. And this is one of those moments that literally changes my life forever. I had no idea that we were one of the first 25 internet cafes in the world. That wasn't even on my list. I didn't even know others existed. What I said was, we have a lot of tourists in Corpus, and so if any business guys are staying in hotels, they might want to check their email, right? It's 1994, okay? No one is even barely on at the time. It's all AOL, CompuServe users. There's nothing else. Like, we're on dial-up. 14.4 is the best speed you're going to get. So if you know what I'm talking about, awesome, because you're as old as me. If you don't, thank God. Because 14.4 was horrible. I mean, the dial-up sound that they make fun of, it still rings in my ears. And we got a lot of press for that. Like, they're like, wow, free internet access. The library doesn't even do that. And I made the first website in Corpus, which was for the Raven and Sparrow. And it was at a domain name called coffeecup.com. So I have the site, and all of a sudden people are asking me to make their websites. So there's a radio station in Corpus called C101. I made their first site. I owned Whataburger.com for a little while. Long story, I had to give it back to them. But I don't want to make their site. I just took the domain name. I got other ones. I literally tried to give it back. It's a funny story. I went to Whataburger headquarters when they were in Corpus, And I said, guys, I bought your domain name so that nobody else would. And they had no clue what a domain name was. None. It took me about 6 months to give them the name so that nobody would squat it. I was being all nice. And they finally, and they got it. So that's beside the point. But I'm making websites for people for like $500 and $1,000 at a time. And when I was doing that, I realized that there was no software. There was a couple little things, just a notepad with a couple buttons. And JavaScript had just come on. This is late 1995, early 1996. And for the little scroller on the top of the page or in the browser, window or whatever, some little special effect, you basically had to just copy and paste the JavaScript into the page, and then save the page and put it online, and all of a sudden you have a clock, right? It's just a little digital clock or whatever. But it was super cool, and everybody wanted it. And there's really only like 10 JavaScripts like in the world. So I would always have to copy and paste, because I was just doing the same dumb little special effects for each little website I was making, right? And how many webmasters are in here? Oh, sorry, web designers, web developers, right? Okay, so the number one problem with the job is, as you guys know, if you've ever done it for money, is that they keep calling you to make changes. And back then, there was no system like, and we charge this amount, and this is what their maintenance. We didn't do that. We just said, hey, it's $500 to make a site, or it's $1,000 to make a site. And they were drilling me to make changes all the time. They're like, hey, can you change this word? Can you add this image? Can you do this? Hey, can you change this? Can you change this? I'm like, clearly I'm not a good business person at the time, because I'm not thinking, hey, I should be charging them. I just keep getting myself wrapped up into these sites. It's just a nightmare. And I got pissed off one day, and that goes to the anger. There's desperation, there's anger. And I got pissed off one day doing this all the time, and I said, and I'm going to leave one word out on purpose because we're taping. I said, I need to make software so they can make their own websites. Right? Because I'm just pissed off.
Bleeped himself.
I bleeped myself. And then there was a regular customer that used to come into the Ring of Sparrow all the time, and I knew he was a developer. His Windows 3.11, he hadn't done a lot of stuff, and I said, do you think you can make an HTML editor? And we can just sit down and like make this thing, and I know all the code. So we did it over 3 months with no intention to sell it. And we didn't actually. We made the first version, we gave it away. And you would have to go to coffeecup.com, but it was a Ring of Sparrow coffee house site. And you could download it. Or you could get it on this many disks, and that's it. So, I got a call. This was at the release. Everything happens really fast on the internet, you guys know. So within like a month of that, I guess, or so, I got a call from the founder of download.com, which is CN. And he said, you could sell this. And which, thank you for telling me that. So I then switched it to shareware, which is now dryware, just a different term. And we sold it for $20. Is that when you became a customer?
No, I became a customer when it was free.
Wow.
Wow.
As soon as Rory told me he was actually a Coffee Cup customer back in the day, I was like, wow. I'm like that guy now, it's like, I remember Coffee Cup, which is kind of sad in a way, but it's like, oh, I remember that. I want that shirt. I remember that. That could be me. And you reminded me of that, thank you. And from there, I decided I would not stop at one piece of software. So we basically created, over my 11 years, 35 pieces of software. They were all connected to each other, and one always upsold another. So we were always telling you by email, or we were always telling you through the software about this new piece of software we're coming out with. And I think we kind of really mastered shareware marketing. We were the first people to ask for your email address when you download the software. We were first to use email marketing. And we had 2 million people on our email list then, so you can imagine that's almost the whole internet. When I first started, coffeecup.com as a site, there were only 10,000 websites on the internet. We were one of them. And I had calculated at one time we had created about 10% of all web pages on the internet, which is cool. I should have sold it for more. Damn it, I should have sold it for more. But it was a great, it literally was a great experience. I got to the deal. I'm so vested. As a lot of entrepreneurs are, I'm so vested in it. You know what I mean? Like 11 years of, golly, I look back on it. I just love the customers.
But what's interesting about your tale is that today you always hear you need a technical co-founder, you need to bootstrap, you need to get angel investment, you need to, and you didn't have a co-founder, you didn't have you bootstrapped in a sense, you just ran
Which
off.
is why when some startups come to me and ask for advice, or need mentorship, that's why I am sometimes the opposite person. Because I was a single founder, I started with $0. It was a $500 computer. I slept in the coffee house for the first year, literally on the floor, under the counter. I set my speakers on really high, so anytime I would get a sale, I said the cha-ching, and I would get up. I mean, 2 o'clock in the morning, it's probably when you ordered it, Corey, thanks for waking me up. And so I would get up, and then I would attach it by email, and I would take your credit card by email, by the way. I know, right? Well, security didn't matter. Who's going to steal it? There's only like 10,000 people. Who's going to steal it? And I wrote your name and your credit card number and the expiration date on like a restaurant receipt. And I had a nail board, like you see at restaurants with a nail, and it was stacked with those receipts because I didn't have credit card processing. So I would put them on there and just send you the software. And I'd put it on there and just send you the software. And I did that for a few months actually, until that entire nail board was stacked, as thick as like a New York phone book. It was like $25,000 in $20 bills. That's what it was. And when I got credit card processing, I'd do them one at a time by hand. I forgot how long it took, but I remember how happy I was when I closed the batch. I closed the batch. Yeah, that was great.
So you
That was greater than than selling the company and waiting for that money to come.
I was going to say, you look at these guys that go through Techstars Cloud and they've got their smartphone and a Square attached and they're doing transactions. You must be like blown away by how far things have come.
Well, that's actually such an advantage for them now, is how fast they can get to market, right? That includes getting money, and that includes mentorship, that includes the technology like the cloud, and that you have full libraries to create things. So nothing is really from scratch. So now it's really focusing on better ideas. We were really blue collar, you know what I mean? You guys actually can use a lot more thought leadership in what you create, which has advantages and disadvantages. Like, though you can do all that, I was telling you before that it tends to sometimes lead to like virtual problem software. So that's kind of what I steer away from. Like, I don't care about apps that do blah, blah, blah. What problem are you solving for real people that actually need something to make their lives better? And that's who I am, right? That's the software I made, and I wouldn't steer away from that. So if you bring some really goofy app that doesn't really do anything that's going to help or change someone's life, I know I'm not interested. Like, I may take it, but I am not interested. I will just send you right off into the abyss. If you're not actually doing something significant, I don't know why you're doing it anyway, right? If you don't think about it when you're in the shower, I forgot who quoted that, then it's not worth doing. And that's the way I am still today. And that's why I do this.
Well, and let's talk, because I'm sure there's entrepreneurs in the crowd, and you just got done with the July Geekdom Fund screening. And the Geekdom Fund, for those of you that don't know, is a $25,000 seed stage fund for entrepreneurs. So can you tell them, you've done it for almost a year now, what is the advice you would give to somebody who's applying for that fund, that wants to seek that kind of grant? Or it's not a grant.
It's not a grant. It's weird because all the people that vote yay, nay, thumbs up, thumbs down type of deal to do the 25K, we were all really in the ecosystem building portion of it. Like, how significant will this be to San Antonio? How significant will be to Geekdom and its other members? So we look at that first. It's interesting that we will always look at the team, but at the end of the day, it falls on things that are important anyway. What is your path to revenue? Who is your customer? How are you going to market it? How are you going to sell it? The same things that, if anybody's been in any of the 3D startup stuff I've done or whatever, I ask the 5 questions all the time, right? Which basically is, who's your customer? How are you going to market? How are you going to sell it? I'm missing one. I forgot just now. Doesn't matter. And what is your noble cause? Right? And the noble cause is truly, what are you about? If you're about selling an app to somebody so you can collect $4.99, or whatever. I don't know. I can't sleep that way. If you can, awesome. But that's not what I'm about. You know, I'd rather have had a software career that lasted 11 years. The coffee cup's still around. I've been here like year 17, which is amazing to me. I don't know what for some people. It makes you reflect sometimes.
And okay, we didn't talk about when you exited Coffee Cup. How did you decide to sell it? And that's always a big problem with somebody who's created something, is knowing when they should let go and move on or stay on. Or so what happened with Coffee Cup? How did you exit it?
So about 4 years prior to selling Coffee Cup, I also started a hosting company. And when you bought our software, you would get hosting for a year for free. Or if you got hosting, you would get all of our software for free. We were really a bad hosting company. We were awful. We lost your passwords, we lost all your pictures. There's Vid back there. Vid knows Vid used to work there. And Vid was in charge of going, oh my God, why did you guys get into the hosting business? Vid was just a admin and we got one. No, he fixed them, that's right. We were a disaster. And at a certain point I said, look, fantastic business, doubled our revenue, blah, blah, blah. Margins are really low, though. Software's fantastic, 80-90% margins. Web hosting's really, really low margins. And I said, look, we've doubled the revenue, but we're not really making that much more. And this is like 20 people have to work here, and only 10 people have to work here. And I said, I want to sell the customers, right, of Blue Domino. And I found a company that bought the hosting accounts. But all the tech and all the stuff that was happening, and the people actually were already being co-located at Rackspace. So when I sold the customers to another company, doesn't matter who, all of the people stayed here in San Antonio actually. Vid was one, and a whole handful who are still there, who then ended up creating Rackspace Cloud off of some of that billing and some of that foundational stuff. So that was kind of cool. Then I fast forward. I woke up one morning with Coffee Cup, 35 pieces of software in, every marketing trick up my sleeve used, and I said, I have no more new ideas. I could not think for the life of me, and actually it's been going on for a while. You know, when I sold the hosting company, I was able to, in really a short amount of time, I was able to actually double revenue on software. I threw out all the stops. I created so much stuff with it. We were just one massive machine. We were such a cool team. And we were generating like crazy, but then I hit a wall and I said, I couldn't possibly make another thing if my life depended on it. So I'm not going to waste anybody's time. I'm not going to just sit here and cash cow. I got to move on. In other words, I fired myself. There was just not much more that I could do. Maybe somebody else could. And so I put the company up for sale. And that's interesting, that, you know, just how that whole process works is interesting, because there's investing, like you see a lot of here, and then there's, I'm selling my company. Wow, that's a whole different thing. I will tell you that it's hard, really hard. You know, you hear that it's like your baby stuff, and it's brutal. It's brutal. I mean, you feel like, wow, here I am. Yeah, I remember that day. It was 7 days in Dallas in a hotel with lawyers and the buyers and negotiating back and forth over pennies, it felt like. And they're mad, and it becomes one of those deals. And then you get down to like signing, you know, and is this the right amount? And, you know, all of that weird stuff. And I just, wow. And I called my brother, who has nothing to do with entrepreneurship at all. Has nothing to do with ever starting anything. You know, I mean, he's just a year younger. And so I said, okay, so here's the offer, man. This is where it stands. I literally, it's been a week, and he says, hey, you know when you go to Vegas and you play blackjack and you're dealt a 20, you're good. Walk away. So I walked right in and signed. I walked away. I got dealt a 20. It doesn't mean I have to go to blackjack, and I was good to go. And that's that.
That's interesting, and see, because sometimes people, they hold out for the maximum and the other people walk away, so you never know what the...
You are literally playing, I think, it's your life. I mean, you've done all of that, you know. I had to do just a lot of crazy math in my head. I said, maybe this will happen when you guys, I really hope it does. I mean, I'd love to hear how your story on it, you know. I know others, and they're similar to mine, But, you know, it really comes down to how long I did it. I did it for a really long time, and I loved it. And if I could rewind time, and I've had this conversation with somebody that a lot of us know, if I could rewind time, what would I do differently? I wouldn't have sold it. I would have turned all the software for free, and then I would have walked away. Because that would have been more of like, that would have been more of who I am. Yeah, that would have been more of who I am. So.
Well, fast forward to modern day times. How did Geekdom come about? And I know you told the story before, but it's worth telling again because this is, a lot of people, Capital Factory and Austin gets a lot of attention because President Obama visited them, but most people don't know Geekdom was the original, was a co-working site before Capital Factory. So talk about how that came about and where you guys came up with the idea for this.
So we, at Rackspace, we started the Rackspace Startup Program, and I was a part of formulating what that would look like and giving away free hosting to startups, and you know, like you get hosting for 12 months, you get it for 6 months, and stuff like that. And what was basically happening was, Graham was seeing, and I was seeing, a lot of other people were seeing, man, there's like all these accelerators are coming out of nowhere, like Techstars and DreamIt and 500 startups, and we were partnering and doing alliances with them. And the maker movement, actually. So, just so you know, that the maker movement and accelerators were more valuable to what we're doing at Geekdom than co-working, okay? All these things kind of all coalesced at the same time a few years ago. And all of a sudden, there's makers, there's accelerators, and there's co-working. But co-working is really far down the list of what we were thinking about. But we said, you know, we should actually check out all this stuff that's happening. And it was kind of like that, you know, vision trip. So literally, Graham and I jumped in an airplane and went to New York, Philadelphia. He then went to California. We went or talked to just about basically everybody. Milwaukee, DC, and it, just like everything that we all make in here, I think, we got rid of the worst, kept the best type of thing. He said, it'd be great, but if you walk into a co-working space, a normal co-working space, which by the way is 99.9% of them, they absolutely do not collaborate. That's fake. Now you'll see it on every other website. So, oh man, you go on websites now, there were collaborations on every website, right? Because they know it's a hot word. But we meant it. If you go to co-working, it's about rent, $500 a desk, or more, blah, 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 blah. It's real estate. And we said, actually, we're so much Graham, if everyone knows Graham, knows about Graham, whatever, he's so much more than that. And I feel that I am too. I said, you know, this is, we're talking about human equity, social change. We're talking about like people that can get together and create something from nothing. I mean, how valuable is that? That's, you can't charge for that. I mean, that's incredible. And wouldn't it be cool if the next Rackspace or the next whatever, Facebook, whatever, was created right out of San Antonio? I actually believe it will be. So I mean, I'm so confident in it that it's going to be you meeting you, all of a sudden, bing, boom, bing. I don't know what it is. Magic recipe, bam. That's exactly where Rackspace came from. Coffee cup, same thing. It just comes, you know. It comes from the serendipity, the meeting in the hallway. That's what Par Level was created. There we are back there. That's how TrueAbility got started. It's a serendipitous collision of thoughts, ideas, and if you take the right business guy and the right code guy and the right vision and everybody's on the bus, boom. And that absolutely, we believe, I believe, is totally going to happen. Well, we'd rather invest in that. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Than a co-working space.
Well, that also reminds me when you guys take the trip around to look at places of the book that you're featured in now called Unstoppables, which is a book about entrepreneurship, and it draws all kinds of analogies between the Navy SEALs and they interviewed Nick in a parking lot before his cell phone's gonna die.
I was downstairs. I was in this parking garage, and he's like, "Hey, I need some quotes." And he already had done a lot of stuff. Bill actually traveled with us when he did the book, and then traveled with Graham, and then went to see the SEALs, and kind of a whole amalgamation, I guess, of different thoughts and ideas in that. But, you know, the things that I think about when I think about entrepreneurship, like, you guys know, like, this whole thing with the failing thing? Like, fail fast, and bullshit. That one I'm gonna put. You keep that. Why would that even be in your head? Who put that there? Who, in their right mind, said, no, it's all right to fail? No, it is not all right to fail. I mean, go tell it to Bear Bryant. Go tell that, you know what I mean? Go over to the Cowboys coach. No, it's all right. It's all right if we lose. No, it is not all right if we lose. That's not true. If you want to run around with your idea, process your idea, then throw your idea away, that's what I said my file cabinet was for. I got tons of those. I think that once an idea leaves your lips, it becomes reality. So you just better keep it to yourself until you actually have thought it out, planned the run, then you're going to talk about it. Don't go and flying off the handle and saying that it's all right to fail, because it makes my skin crawl. It really does. It pisses me off, as you can see. I immediately will just, my switch just clicks. It's just utterly not okay. You should be doing every single thing you can not to fail every minute. Well, why are you living? I'm not live to fail. I live. I live so that I can watch all the sunsets you were talking about in Hawaii.
You guys talk about the move of Geekdom into this brand new building in San Antonio and what that's going to mean for the San Antonio startup community to have your own building.
So the cool part about that is the 6th and 7th floor there will be ours. It'll be a restaurant. This is proposed, so if any of this doesn't work out, I don't want you guys to like go, you said there was going to be. There's going to be a restaurant bar on top. There's going to be a garden on top of the roof that's also a bar. Where the 6th and 7th floors were right below that. There's an event center downstairs.
Wait, there's a bar?
Yeah, a bar.
How are we going to get anything done?
You won't. All that would be the elevator all the time.
Are you sure that's a good idea? Have you seen that in other places?
Well, we're not other places, that's for sure. It's always a type of fiesta. And then the ground floor will have an event center, which is really, really cool. It has a balcony, you can look down. It'll be full setup for something like TEDx, for example. It's pretty large. The maker space will also be in that space, and we'll share it behind there, so the 3D printers and the laser cutters and all that stuff will be in there as well. But what's really cool about it is, as the other floors vacate, we will have medium-sized technology companies, or medium-sized, for the sake of this conversation, I don't like using the word creative class, but I will for this. How about we just say creative? What do we call them creative, Lawrence, or something? I need a word, buddy. Hippies. We need hippie businesses. But you know any medium-sized hippie businesses? Things that add some creative touch to our world, because I think that's what we're all doing anyway. And when I said earlier that how those things converged, and we were talking about makers, that's what we all are. We're all makers. So whether we're making software or using a soldering iron and making some gadget, we're all makers, and so are all the creatives. So whether they're artists or whether they're filmmakers, whatever, so we'd really like to see some of those type of businesses in there as well, to kind of give us a reality check on remaining creative and not following some weird direct straight path out of Harvard, right? Because we already know that doesn't work. So we don't want anyone to keep that, just always thinking about that business track.
Okay, quick, somebody go and squat on hippiegeekdom.com.
I think the Lorenzo probably already has that. He's a domain name squatter.
Geeks who quilt.
We are going to glass blower, right? Like, isn't that where?
Oh, glass blowing.
Oh yeah, there's like they have like artisan idea where like the glass blower would be like glass blower and jewelry maker. They'd all be in one location in one of the spaces there, and you could watch them make stuff and then buy it.
I want to do organic goat cheese.
Hey, that was one of my bad ideas. No, that's not a joke. That really isn't. I'm serious. I wish my wife was here right now, because she would stand up and go, pig farm. Tell them the pig farm idea.
Oh no, you got Bob Metcalf actually has a pig farm, and he's going to talk.
So how bad is an idea?
I know, exactly.
Because Bob Metcalf's pretty smart. That's all I'm saying.
I'm
I'm gonna bring my wife to his.
are connected.
I'm bringing my wife to his, and I'm gonna go, hey, Bob, tell us about the pig farm, Bob. Tell my wife about it, why the pig farm is a bad idea, Bob.
All right. I want to know how old you were when you started. How did you know at that age that it was kind of the time to branch out and do your own thing? And then by the time it was time to sell your company, how old were you then? And what really made you decide, okay, I'm at the age where I want to sell? I mean, what if it could have went even more? Or what were the determining factors?
Man, you hit it. Those are good questions. That's a half-deserving question just for the numbers. Because I remember all the ages. That's why I like the question. That was almost a softball for me. I was 28 when I started Coffee Cup. The reason I was the right age, dude, is after that, I'm always going to be, the fry cook. You know what I mean? That's when it is. Sometimes we see younger people getting into the startup movement, but really the numbers don't actually prove success. Actually, is the older you are, the more you have experience in the track record. So at 28, I had already failed a couple of times. I'm already running a coffee house into the ground. I mean, there's a thing there that says, yeah, now's the time to pivot. Now's the time to do it. The younger you are, I think it's just all about the learning until the moment hits, and then you're going to know. And it's likely, as we see from success, that literally it's probably after, 30 at this point, not before. So lots of infographics for that. I left, give or take, it was 38, 39, and I was really shooting for that. I said, man, I really want to retire before I'm 40. Then I sat around in a non-compete clause for 2 years. I wasn't allowed to have a Facebook page. I wasn't allowed to have a Twitter account. I wasn't allowed to have anything. Oh, it was horrible because that's what I signed. Boo. So I sat on my couch for 2 years. I rented, I think it was 1,000. I'm not kidding. 1,000 movies for Blockbuster. Think about it. Do the math. I literally that's all I did. That's all I did. That's how I processed that pig farm bad idea, because I was just sitting and rocking back like a crazy person. Pig farm. I swear to you right now, I have a book about it. I literally have a book about it. I just don't tell them this. There's a book about it at my house. So it was that bad. And was there another part of that, Dave, besides that age stuff?
Kind of where you were when you decided it was time to sell. What really clicked in your head?
I told you, dude. I ran out of ideas.
Okay.
I was burnt out. I like that word better, because that's more of the reality. I was burnt out. I was done. I was toast. I wasn't getting up anymore going, man, I can't wait to get to work. I just was not doing it anymore. I mean, I was there, but it's just complete motion. And I knew it, and I said, no, I'm just not helping anybody. I'm not helping customers, which is really more important. And I'm not helping the team. I just felt like I wasn't helping anyone. So, I think that wouldn't matter if you're doing it for a year, by the way, or 11 or 20. I mean, if you're not feeling it anymore, run.
What would your advice be for people who are evaluating a sellout and the non-compete clause that you had? How would you make the decision now?
I'm talking about, I would literally, now that I know what I know, and Dave has actually sold something, I would absolutely go to someone that has sold before. And I know that's what you're leading me to, it is kind of a softball. If you ever get in that position where you're going to sell your company, please go to someone like myself or Jason Stevens or Pat Conley and go, tell me everything bad about how that happened, because it doesn't go good. When you sell a company, it is the exact same thing as getting divorced. So when I watched my bank account, because I sat and hit refresh, literally at 8 a.m. I'm like this, refresh, and the number came, it didn't feel that good. It didn't feel like confetti was going to fall out of the ceiling. It did not. I felt like it was a settlement.
No.
Okay? And just so you know, I'm not the only one. Every person that has sold, for the most part, will tell you a very similar story. It feels more like we just settled a deal. Yeah, it felt like you got the house, and, I got the dog.
Apart from that, did you do a non-compete?
You will do a non-compete no matter what, Dave. But remember, when my brother told me I got down to 20, I knew what the non-compete meant. because he knows a little bit more about me, but you knew, dude, like, if I were to go back to make software again, it would really hurt them, right? Because all of the stake was in my brand at the time with Coffee Cup. So it really just would have been, hey guys, yeah, I got rid of that, and now I'm starting Ace software over here. And then it would have drugged in, so non-competes are a part of it. It's just, mine was really brutal. And I wasn't reading the fine print, though. That was at the end of the day. I did not read enough of the fine print.
And just for the record, you're happily married and you have 2 wonderful daughters.
Yes.
So you're have to go through that.
No, I did not have to go through that. I don't have to go through that.
Putting that out for the record.
That's just my experience. Not my divorce. But my experience with other people's divorces is that.
And I had to ask you a question, and I'll get back to them. What is it about vampires? What's your
Yeah, so here's the deal. Now, I don't know what's going on, and really we don't need to know.
Can we get the vampire up here?
So I actually had this no vampire rule.
No?
No, that's fine. Please no. Please no. Please no. I'm begging. So there's a vampire showed up tonight. I'm looking right at that. So to me, venture capitalists are vampires. So when we first opened up Geekdom, I said, there's no vampire rule here. So I don't want people to get off the elevator, come into Geekdom, and hit all the members up for either technology services because they're not bringing anything else to the table, right? Or to come in and try to strip away startups or to wrap them up into really bad 40% equity deals. So I kind of have like the no vampire rule. So really, I mean, it's kind of cool to start, but I'm really kind of a gatekeeper. I swear to you, as soon as I saw the vampire thing, I'm like, are you serious? I thought it was a setup.
You're like the first
I'm like,
person on the elevator.
who brought in the vampire? I don't like vampires. I don't want to suck the startup dry.
Okay, I just had that aspect.
Just share some experience from the other side, of the acquiring side. What you say is that it's brutal because, one of the companies in the former company I worked, that we were planning to acquire was Rackspace. And we acquired 54 companies in 3 years, small, medium-sized internet companies. Our first rule, number one rule, when we acquired a company was get rid of the founder.
You're done. And so, thank you. That's actually good because there's actually a side note. I won't take it as a question, but I forgot who did that one earlier today in the fun. They said it was WTF with a question mark. Does that count as a question? I think it does. Yeah. So in my contract, it was basically, it kind of was weird that it ended at 3 years. Like at 3 years, there was no more. Like there wasn't an end after that. And then it had a 1 year mark, a 2 year mark, and a 3 year mark. So I pretty much knew this was going to go south so quickly, and it did, by the way. 1 year, almost to the day, that everything just started going south. Now, everything that we do shouldn't work that way. And that's when it was a complete flip. Their ideas were awful, my idea, yeah, exactly, right? And nothing is the same, and literally it was a completely different company on the mark of the year. And I went, okay, bye. But it went just like that, literally. Okay, bye. There's my resignation letter. There it is.
Those guys are deal makers.
Yep. See you later.
They don't shit.
I actually have about 3 questions.
Holy crap! You got it on
I have to write it down, so I do. So, we talk about marketing a lot, we talk about product development, but we don't talk much about business values. So I really want to know how important is it to develop business core values and how much should be aligned with your personal values? First question. And the second question is, what are your business values and how aligned are they with your personal values? And the third question is, where would you rank the business values with, product development, team development, etc.?
One of the things that, and I think I even started that way when I talked about noble cause, right? I mean, and that I could have sold the software for more, right? I really am so big on the helping portion, the integrity part of that. Aligned is the only way that it can be. I mean, there are people that are only driven by the amount of money that they're going to make. I will tell you that I'm the opposite of that. Like, as this is an example, as I think that even Coffee Cup was an example, to be honest. I mean, it did really well, don't get me wrong. But when I looked at Adobe, when I looked at Microsoft, and I looked at the opportunities that I actually passed on intentionally. When VC came to me, literally at year 2, when a very big company offered to buy us, and I said no, because I knew then that that would be a mistake for the customers. I knew then that what they would do was turn our $20 and $49 software into $199 and $299, and that would remove what my noble cause was. My noble cause was to create software so you would never have to work again. It was actually really simple. I will make software so you can make your own website so you don't have to work for the man either. It was really that simple. And I wanted to keep that. And I did. I kept it all the way to my last day. It's the same here. I don't want any of you to work anywhere. You know? I would tell them at Raptors, I want you to quit at Raptors. Come do a startup, right? I just don't want you to work for anybody. I think that everybody I've met in my life, I also think that they're smarter than me. Everyone is smarter than me until you prove otherwise, right? So everyone should have the same amount of respect across the entire board. No matter what your background is, no matter where you come from, no matter what school or no school or anything, everyone's equal. And that's because a lot of the successes that I've met in my life are from the sources that that I would never have guessed in a million years before I did it myself. Because I came from that background too. So I always count everybody in. And I'm just big on the truth. Through mistakes, through anything, always tell the truth. And I was really, if I did anything, and there is really a customer here, but if I did anything, I think it was the fact that, like, my connection with the customers was real, because I was one. Was it not?
Yeah. I got your book signed.
I was a real customer of my own stuff. Like, I wasn't making stuff to sell it. I was making stuff because I needed it so that I wouldn't have to. I was giving it to you, man, go make your own stuff. You know, go do the thing. But man, I felt like they were like, every success story I got was way more important than the dollar bill. Like all the emails throughout all the years about changing people's lives and thank you so much for making it, that made it worthwhile. That's actually what kept me going all the time. I don't know if that answers it, but I'm just trying.
Did you get a hat?
You did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
How do you manage to have like a personal life with your family and kids, and also run a company like Coffee Cup? I know you were super busy during that time, so that's question one. And second question is, what is the craziest thing you have or you did to market your software? Because then we have some stories about taking cameras and giving gold away, stuff like that. So you want to share that with us?
Okay. So on the family one, it was basically, and I think that you're going to have to find a relationship where your wife or husband, if it's in reverse, is also an entrepreneur in the spirit and the heart. Like at the end of the day, it was my wife's credit card that floated Coffee Cup and the coffee house. I was like using her MasterCard to buy cups. She's the only one that had a job. I mean, I admitted it. She was.
And your wife's a nurse, right?
And my wife's a nurse, so she was the only one getting a paycheck, and I was like the hippie guy going, hey, so I got this idea. She still looks at me the same way. She's like, oh, here it goes. So I think I'm actually just a part of her like humor. I'm just like her comic book. At this point, wait, let's see what he comes up with next. Hey, what's this? This is gonna be really stupid. Yeah. Oh, look, I know what's wrong with the bowl. She's right on the balcony taking pictures. I'm sure that she did the big life insurance thing, but I think she more so wanted her name, like the credit for the picture of me getting the horn. Photo credit, Serena Longo. I told him. Yeah. So the sense of humor and then having that same type of spirit, good partner, awesome. Now, what was the second part, real quick?
The craziest thing you have ever.
Okay, I had a lot of crazy ones, but I've given away a bar of gold twice, a big one, a kilo, through a treasure hunt for the whole world. So we basically hid a bar of gold. At the time, it was worth 11 grand, much more than that today. We hid it somewhere in the world. and then we used really unbelievable graphics treasure hunts that I had gotten the idea from a book called The Golden Rabbit, where they hid a rabbit somewhere in the UK, and you read this book. Through the book, you could find the Golden Rabbit. And so I kind of knocked off that idea, and we basically, it just so visually, it was incredible. It was online, so it was all done in Flash, and then you would go through this, and we kind of red herringed you so that everybody answered under the Eiffel Tower, when in reality it was in Savannah, Georgia, in a flower box at a place called the Sixpence Pub. And the guy guessed it. He was actually a navigator for the British Navy who got it correct. And we flew him and surprised him when he came, and the barcode was there. I should get a barcode away twice. I've given away my car. I had a little Mercedes. I've given away my car. It was Win Nick's car. This whole Flash deal. And you went and you won my car. I gave away tickets to the Super Bowl, and you went with me, which was kind of cool. I just got to do this stuff too. It was like I knew what I was doing. I'm like, I'm gonna go to the Super Bowl, and I'm taking yeet. And this is gonna be a write-off.